and welcome to On the Record, i24 News' in-depth interview show. My guest tonight is an Iranian political activist who was among the organizers of the recent protests in his hometown in northern Iran, when across the country approximately 40,000 people were massacred by regime forces. Armed only with his camera phone and protected by a black hoodie and sunglasses to hide his identity, and also due to a rare eye condition, self-proclaimed freedom fighter Rayan Amiri was on the ground documenting the killing of Iranian protesters, with his videos receiving millions of views on Western media news outlets and social media. Now, he's on the run, forced to flee Iran and leave his friends and family behind while the IRGC hunts him. From exile, he founded the Conservative Party of Iran, which seeks to transform Iranian discourse from Islamist ideology to secular civic nationalism. He joins me tonight from his hideout somewhere in Turkey. Rayan, thank you so much for joining me this evening and for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you very much, Ariel. First and foremost, I'm going to thank the entire nation and state of Israel for tremendous support that they have shown so far for the Iranian people. I see them as the true friends of Iran and the Iranian people, and I see Israel as a natural ally for real Iran, represented by the leadership of His Majesty Reza Shah Pahlavi II. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for that. I can also say that here in Israel, we desperately seek the freedom of the Iranian people, and we'll get to these issues. But I want to start with your story. You fled Iran back in February after regime forces began arresting some of your friends who also organized anti-regime protests. Now, without getting too specific, because I also want to protect your safety and whereabouts, how did you manage to flee Iran, and where are you now?
Look, I'm in Turkey because you don't have much choice when you flee Iran. You don't have much choice because this passport don't get you to the passport of Islamic Republic. Don't get you to beautiful places. It gets you to places that you have to go. You're forced. You don't have many choices. My Israeli friends, they asked me why I chose Turkey, because I had to. That's first answer to your question. And I fled Iran because the regime identified me. According to the people in the town, they've been in search of me, in search of a person with my description, as you said, a person who was protecting himself under a hoodie, with glasses, with a black mask, with everything. The person who was leading everything, who was giving people the signals, the chants that people were chanting, they chanted after me, you know. So they've been in search of this, they've been curious, who was this guy with the black mask?
So with them searching you, how did you manage to exit the country?
Look, I went first. I didn't want to exit the country first. I was not sure about anything. My instinctual response to the situation was go immediately to hiding inside Iran. I went to a rural house, a distant house in the mountains, which located in our own county, and then hid there for weeks, almost three weeks. And when I was sure that the regime identified me 100% from my friends and family, and the regime agents were at the door, just watching the door of our house, 24/7. A white van was there waiting for everything. So the family members and the people gave me the hint that they identify you. They just are for you to arrest you. So better you get out of the country. So on the dawn of February 1st, I didn't have any other choice. I didn't know if the regime put a travel ban on me. But if the regime knew that if I was Cheyenne X, there was, there was no doubt that they would put a travel ban on me. But I was not sure. It was 50-50 because I was identified as just a leader organizer in a small town. So regime usually don't put travel ban on certain people like that. They put, if they knew that I was Cheyenne X, they would have done it.
Mm-hmm. Cheyenne X, that was your social media kind of pseudonym. But just technically, how did you flee? Did you flee by car? Did you fly out?
I fly. Actually, I fly out, and I was like scared to death. I was not ashore doing anything. You know, I didn't have any choice. It was my instinctual response. It was very immature. I know a lot of people say, well, why did you do that? What if they just arrest you at the airport? Mm-hmm. But I was, so, I just, in the dawn, without getting any ticket, without giving any hint, anything. I just went to the airport in Tehran and just bought a ticket, just the sooner, the fastest that I could. I got a ticket, and actually I left.
Look, I want you to take us back to the protests in December and January. Where were you, and what was your involvement in the protests?
I was in Sari because Sari is the capital of Mazandaran province. Look, this was the first, the only uprising that I was mainly in Mazandaran province. In the previous ones, I was in Tehran. So I did because we were waiting for the call to protest by the Shah of Iran, and we wanted to make sure that every province is involved. This is something different. That's why I wanted to make sure that in my home province, and my home county, which is very historically important, Sawadku is historically important, there is filled with thousands of people. So as an organizer, as a citizen journalist also, I wanted to make sure that the protests are prevalent in Sari, in Shahi, which the regime calls the city Qaim Shah. They changed the name after 1979, but the people still call it Shahi. Mm-hmm. So, and in my hometown, Sawadku, which is historically important because that is a very hometown of the Pahlavi dynasty. So, I was in Sari organizing the stuff, and I was surprised and shocked by the number of people who took to the streets in thousands, chanting Javid Shah, chanting this is the last battle and Pahlavi will return, which, look, taking videos and filming is forbidden. It's like a part of the procedures that the freedom fighters they give to each other, saying that if anyone films, that means they are regime agents because they want to identify. But you need some proof for history. You need for international media to see what to do. I was there, surrounded by the people who knew me as fellow protesters, some of them, not all of them, because you are in the middle of the crowd. Some people are strangers. But the strangers were frowning on me because I was filming. My fellow protesters were laughing, and because some people actually wanted to grab my phone and break it, because they're like furious. Why are you filming? And I'm like, I want to send it to the media to see your courage, to see everything that we are doing, sacrificing our lives. So that's
why. Were you scared filming, documenting those protests?
Yeah, absolutely, I was scared because when you are filming, you're focusing on something. You are careless about the bullets flying in front of you and everything. And the fact that I am alive is a miracle. It's a miracle. It's unbelievable. My life is unbelievable even for me. I don't blame the others. Whenever I tell them these stories, I don't blame them if they don't believe me because it's unbelievable. It's miraculous what happened.
I want to specifically focus on the nights of January 8th and 9th, the deadliest nights of the protests. I want to take a look at one of the videos that you filmed from within those protests on January 8th in Sari. Let's take a look.
Javid Shah!
Rayan, truly chilling scenes of protesters screaming Javid Shah, long live the Shah, as they're being shot at by regime forces. Really chaotic scenes, but you were there. So take us to those moments. What was going through your mind as you were filming this, as you were seeing people around you getting hit? Were any of your friends killed in these protests?
Yeah. Look, it was early hours before because the protests were scheduled for 8 p.m. or something. And it was the early hours because I was supposed to be in Sawadku, not Saudi that day because of the call to protest by the Shah. It was specific because it was a call to protest by the Shah on January 8th and January 9th. So Sawadku was special for me because I was Sawadkuhi. I was coming from this historically important place, and I wanted to make sure that there are thousands of people in the streets chanting in favor of the Pahlavi dynasty, chanting for the liberation of Iran in my hometown. A few hours before it was scheduled to begin, I was there in Saudi. And the regime, I also sent you other footages that shows that regime agents positioned themselves just like they were armed to the teeth, positioned themselves on the side of the Saad Square, which is the main square in Saudi. And the protesters were the other side. And it was like a battle, but it was very unfair because the regime agents were armed to the teeth with everything they had, with every equipment, and they were really ready to shoot and kill people. And the people on the other side were not armed. They were defenseless. And they were just, their only weapon that they had was their boards, their slogans of Javid Shah, or this is the last battle, Pahlavi will return. So, and I was moved. Even if I was a career freedom fighter and I was not new in organizing protests, I was moved and shocked with the unfairness of this. And I actually were thinking about how to even and level the playing field for the Iranian people to succeed. In the middle of getting shot, in the middle of filming, I was just moved by that scene, and which was I was filming as you show to your audience. It was beyond imagination, and we started to run for our lives to the alleys, to the streets, you know, and some people got captured. Some people in the rows that were close to the regime agents were shot dead in Saudi, and they were dropping like leaves from the trees, you know, and they've been killing people, just killing people at point blank. It's like at point blank, like they didn't care about human life. These people, Ariel, are savages. They're terrorists. And I think they deserve to die. They deserve to die because these people don't care about human life. They don't care about the basics of human rights. They don't care about anything. Some of these people were teenagers. Some were with their own family members, with their own wives and husbands. As you showed, they are with their own husbands and wives and children. Fathers were with their daughters at the protest.
Really remarkable testimony, and I am so happy to hear that you managed to survive that and come out on the other side and to continue to tell the story and spread the footages that you did at the time. Now, I want to move on to the latest war in Iran, because you talked about this regime, that its officers need to die, and so you left before the American and Israeli bombs started falling. Are you supportive of this war? And assuming that you are, do you support its execution under any means, including the destruction of Iran's critical infrastructure, if it may reach that point?
Look, first and foremost, I'm in support in the general aspect of this war, you know, especially what the Israelis are doing, precision attacks, targeted attacks. They are very clean. They say IDF is one of the most humane army in the world, the most moral, and it's true. So I like the Israeli style more than the American style. especially the rhetoric of President Donald Trump, I don't like. As an Iranian, I think to a certain extent it's an insult to the intelligence of Iranian people who gave their lives in tens of thousands for their country and for the liberation of not just Iran, but the Middle East from this barbaric, totalitarian, terrorist theocracy. So I'm supportive of this war. And I don't call it even a war. What kind of war is this? That the only one side, being the regime, its commanders and commander-in-chief get eliminated just after a few seconds of the start of the war. It never happened in entire history. Never happened that the entire chain of command, the major commanders and commander-in-chief of a regime gets eliminated within seconds. It's just a humanitarian intervention. That is exactly what the Iranian people in the streets chanted for. They wanted humanitarian intervention, from our allies and our friends, the people who call themselves the leaders of the free world. And they promised us, President Trump promised to intervene if the regime killed the people. The regime killed the people, so he intervened and kept his promise. And that's why Iranian people are very thankful of President Trump for doing that. And they are very thankful of Bibi for doing that. But there are some nuances there, some delicate balance there. President Trump didn't do the full job. He calls what he has done so far a regime change. Which, is this a regime change? When all of the three heads of the three branches of the regime are intact. The man responsible for mass execution is Mohseni Ejei. This guy Ejei is in charge. He's a mullah who is the butcher of Tehran. He is in charge. Ghalibaf is intact. Everyone else, Pezeshkian, who is the second in command in killing people and mass murdering people, he is intact. He's not dead. So, and President Trump calls it regime change.
So Rayan, you're saying the job isn't done yet, but if there were to be a resumption of military operations, would you support that, including destroying Iran's electricity and power infrastructure?
No, absolutely not, because that's unnecessary. Why they should, when they can take out Pezeshkian, why they will go instead to destroy some power plants? This is meaningless. This is an insult to the intelligence of every Iranian, who are the most educated population in the Middle East. Very smart people. So I don't want my people to be insulted in that way with the rhetoric of President Trump talking about taking out the civilization. These rhetorics are very they're unnecessary. Unnecessary. And he must be careful about his words. If he's helping us, he must do it in a right way, not in a half-assed way. For years, the Americans and the Europeans appeased the regime. They practiced containment policy, appeasement policy, and they empowered the regime to a level that you see that they waged war at Israel and that they created chaos in the Middle East. They waged war at the Arab countries and everyone, because of the empowerment that they got from the Western weak, indecisive, effeminate soy boy leaders like Macron, like Keir Starmer, like them. But Trump was an anomaly. He promised to intervene, and he did, but he didn't finish the job. He is able to do that, but he refuses to do that. I'm not sure. I'm not in his mind. But I hope he's going to do that. He's going to finish Pezeshkian, he's going to finish Ghalibaf, he's going to finish Ejei, he's going to just take out the entire chain of command of the Islamist regime, level up, even up the playing field for the Iranian people to take over.
So that really leads me to my next question, which I think is the biggest question that people who are following the situation in Iran are also asking themselves. Once the war is over, whether through an agreement now or after another round of military operations, what makes you believe that enough Iranians will take to the streets at that point in time in a manner that can overthrow the regime, knowing the deadly brutality that they are expected to face?
Look, because there is a pattern from the side of the people. There is a pattern from the side of the regime. Brutality is that pattern. Mass murder, genocidal mass murder. I call it genocidal because they target a certain category of political category. You know, the people who are secular, who are pro-Shah, who are civic nationalists. So they are targeted. It's a genocide happening in Iran, ongoing genocide. So there's a pattern when it comes to the regime. Also, there's a pattern when it comes to the people, the resistance of the people. Every uprising was larger from the previous one. So it shows, despite all of the brutality and crackdown that they got in the previous uprisings, the people did not give up. They never give up. So if the playing field is even level for them, and the crackdown forces are crushed, they literally are crushed by our foreign allies, being Israel and America, then Iranian people will absolutely take over. Because I saw with my own eyes in Savatku, the police station was almost taken by the people, you know, who were not armed. That was when the regime started to, because the regime has an inferiority complex, it started to shoot at the people because the people were being successful in taking over.
But Rayan, that is one police station in one city out of over 30 provinces. So my question is, to the best of your knowledge, is there some organizing happening right now in Iran of protesters who are planning to return to the streets at some point in time?
Absolutely. Look, we have one leader, and that is called Reza Shah Pahlavi II. My leader is not President Trump. My leader is not even Bibi, who I love as the most popular foreign leader inside Iran. Bibi is the most right now, not Trump, but Bibi. My leader, my loyalty goes to Reza Shah Pahlavi II. He's not just my leader, he's the leader of the majority, super majority, vast majority of the Iranian people who took to the streets in millions and gave their lives in tens of thousands on January 8th and January 9th, which was the call to protest by who? By Bibi? By Trump? No, by Reza Shah Pahlavi II. So this man he is the one who talks here. He is the organizer, the actual organizer. He is the actual mobilizer. He created platforms for defection. He created platforms for mobilizing people. It's very new. Just a few months after he launched a platform that is called Immortal Guard of Iran. If you study what is Immortal Guard of Iran historically, you will understand what it is. It's a decentralized form of mobilization, decentralized because of security.
But what is happening on the ground right now in terms of preparations for returning to the streets?
The Iranian people are waiting for the next call to protest by the Shah of Iran. They are getting prepared. That is the plan. Getting prepared for the next uprising, which will be the call to protest by the Shah of Iran. But this time will be even much more different, because the Iranian people, they know that the previous time they came in millions without being armed, but it didn't happen. But this time it will be different. I'm not going to give you details, things that what we are exactly doing, because it will defeat the purpose of this, what we are doing. So, but there is mobilization under the framework of what the Shah launched, and that is called Immortal Guard of Iran. And the Immortal Guard of Iran is going to crush the IRGC, and it's going to replace the IRGC soon, perhaps within months. I am not sure. I'm not giving you the exact time, but we will be victorious. Anyone who placed their bet against the Shah in the land of the Shahs, the Shah will never die. So if you place your bet against the Shah of Iran, you will lose, because Iran is not the land of the mullahs. It's the land of the Shah. In history of Iran, always the Shah of Iran comes back and liberates his country. If you read Shahnameh, for example, it's in our literature, in our history, and everything. That is the historical cycle of Iran's history. It's the historical truth of Iran's history. Thank you very much.
Look, Rayan, I would definitely not bet against the resolve of the Iranian people. And if you are just one example of the leadership of the protest movement and of those who are taking to the streets, I wouldn't bet against you guys. But unfortunately, we are going to have to leave it there. I want to thank you again, Rayan Amiri, for your time and for your important testimony here, really sharing with us what you witnessed and experienced, you and other millions of Iranians on the ground during those deadly protesters. So thank you, and stay safe in your hideout in Turkey. You can find today's episode and all previous episodes on YouTube and Spotify. Thank you for joining.